Welcome back, everyone, to Steel City Speedsters, featured at Pittsburgh Gaming Expo, and I cannot believe it, but we are on our final run of the entire weekend marathon. It has been such an incredible event, and we have raised over $1,300 to benefit Assemble Pittsburgh. It's thrilling that we get to be here with you, and we are going to bring it home with an incredible run. This upcoming run is Metroid Fusion Randomizer by Autumn Out of Habit. Autumn, the floor is yours.
All right, thank you so much for having me. So this is a new randomizer for Metroid Fusion that just came out at the beginning of August, powered by Randomizer. And we've got a bunch of cool new features. I'm playing on all beginner settings in what's called the Open Sector Hub, so I can get into any of the sectors. But let me get ready. Time will start when I hit start. So if we are good, I will count down from 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and go. So I will start with 1 energy tank and 1 random starting item, as well as level 0 locks starting. So it looks like I've got Morph Ball to start here. A little bit of an interesting start, as normally I have to go into the sectors. Normally getting into all but the first 2 sectors require opening additional security key cards. However, I have enough. Just missiles at the elevator, so I'm not going to need that. So the goal of this, if anyone's familiar with the Metroid Prime games, we have 5 infant Metroids that I have to collect in order to bring the SAX out of hiding. So think of that like our artifacts or our keys from Prime 1 or 2. The randomizer has also made a few small edits to some rooms just to prevent soft locks, and also gives me a feature where I can always revert to my starting location, keeping whatever I have from my last save. So right now with Morph Ball, I can get into the main deck a little bit earlier than I would normally be able to. I don't have the item for that. However, nothing going on there, so it looks like the game is going to be asking me... Actually, the game is probably asking me to go up to the operations deck. Since it's the second randomizer that Metroid Fusion has ever had, for years it was thought to be impossible. Now we have 2 that are released and 1 in works through Archipelago. So a great time to be a Metroid Fusion enjoyer. Also, of course, we do have the Save the Animals versus Save the Frames bid war going at Speedrunner. I want to go fast, so please, let me save those frames.
We do have a bit of an update on that if you got some time.
I do.
Oh my goodness. All right. Well, we are currently sitting at a total of $124.12 raised for that. However, thanks to a $20 donation from Rumor Macabre, who says, save the animals. Save the Animals is actually in front now with a total of $70, and Save the Frames is behind at $54.12. So we're going to need to see a few more donations if we want to see save those frames. Folks, don't forget to apply your donation to the incentive on that page when you're checking out for the donation.
Very cool. And this seed is giving me a very linear start here. So I picked up the high jump and jump ball, so now I can jump in my Morph Ball form and also jump over some obstacles. That's actually going to keep me from needing to do a check that I can do in a trick that I can do in Sector 2. Randomizer has, I believe, 12 different categories for difficulty for what tricks it will configure. So you can set those to trickless, beginner, intermediate, advanced, expert, or ludicrous. We have a ludicrous trick called Kego Jump that I will not need to try to do, unfortunately, because I do have the jump ball, although fortunately for going fast, it is easier than watching me fail to damage boost across the top of an enemy for a while. I'm playing on all beginner settings, and part of that is because the randomizer is very new, and I want to show off that even on the beginner settings, you can still get some very interesting seeds. Of course, I have no idea what's coming up on this one until I get there. I will also be saving early and saving often. I'm saying that as I go just past into the first save room. And one thing I'm really looking for here, we have 4 levels of security key cards in the game that are shuffled into the item pool rather than being in their default locations. When I find the level 1 security card, I can go up and get a hint as to what bosses will have infant Metroids, which I do need in order to get to the end of the game. Here I just found the level 4 security card, which will actually allow me, if I go to a very deep area in the game, to find out where the other baby Metroids are. So as far as that goes, I'm not going to be completely locked out of anything. And this is a very interesting set of starting items. The randomizer also can force points of no return. So the only thing that I know of that I have open to me at this point, because it cannot be giving me a damage run on these settings of the level that I would need to do to open another check. But I believe I'm going to be finding something in the level 1 security room coming up here, which, if I'm wrong, I will be locked in that room and will have to revert to a save. Another cool feature added by the randomizer here that I will show off in a second is I can actually go into an inventory menu. In Vanilla Fusion, you cannot unequip anything here. I can turn off any item I want at any time. You may see that come into account whenever I have some future tricks. I did not get the door open and there's nothing in there, so what I'm going to do is go into the menu and press the L trigger, and that gives me the option to warp to the starting point. With that, I've actually got a very interesting conundrum of trying to figure out what does the randomizer want me to do right now. Because with my current set of locks, there is very little I can actually accomplish here.
We have a ton of love in chat for you, cheering you on. Folks saying, let's go, Autumn. So I believe.
Glad to hear it, and hey, everyone in there, just make sure you let me save those frames. So, a little bit dicey going through a damage run in this room, and that's going to happen from time to time. We take some deaths. I was a bit overconfident in not healing before I went into that room, and that's okay. That's one of the reasons why we save early, we save often, and as much as possible. And of course, we're getting one of those marathon seeds that we always get classically in a randomizer, where it's like, okay, what will the game actually let me do here?
Just very, very restricted.
Yeah, normally Rando loves to throw at me just a little bit of everything right up front so that I can check almost the entire station right away. We hate when it does that. So of course today it's like, oh, you don't like having things? Cool, have nothing. And I've figured out what Rando wants me to do. I don't like it. It is gross. I believe this is going to make me go to the main reactor, which has some enemies that do endgame levels of damage. Fortunately, I was able to find a second energy tank, so at least I'm not going in there completely blind. One of the reasons I like doing the open sector hub preset, because we also have an option to let you start in any of the save rooms in the game, or a couple of other designated rooms, as well as the vanilla starting location. One of those is that Rando does like to start you in the reactor, which is very difficult to get through with limited health and limited firepower. But with the set of items here, I was having trouble thinking about it because I just didn't want it to be the case. So, you know, I've heard that there has been some varied luck with the seeds that we've been seeing at the tournament here. We like to affectionately call the Randovania randomizer Randy, and Randy does hate all of us.
Classic Randy.
Also, shout out to my Discord community for picking between 5 seeds that I rolled, which name they wanted to see. We have, this one is called Babel Emergency. Of course, the names mean nothing. They are just a 3-word seed hash to call them apart. While I'm getting down into Reactor, if we have any donations, this would be a great time to read a couple.
I think it'd be a great time to read a couple too. Thank you. We have a huge $100 donation from Mike on, it looks like on behalf of the Pittsburgh Arcade Collective. Thank you so very, very much for that huge donation. Thank you to everyone for your generosity. We've raised $1,449.12. Classic 412 sneaking in there. Thank you to everyone who's made that possible. We still want to see those frames being saved, so now is the time to make your donation. It's the last run of the marathon, folks. Make your donation using !donate in chat, and apply that donation toward the incentive to save or not save the animals.
Cool, and we just saw a power bomb pickup there. When I get my power bombs in this game, I'm going to start with 10 of them. That's all I'll ever need. So you won't see me picking up those. I might go out of my way if I find a missile pickup or energy tanks. We always like to have more energy. And that, okay, there's a bit of time loss. That's okay. Like I said, Rando being rude today, but that's okay. We count that into the estimate.
I like this comment from chat from LinkshotCO3 who says, randomizers are just personal saw traps we build for ourselves.
So true, Linkshot. And shout out to Linkshot being the person who actually got me into Metroid Fusion in the first place. Much appreciation for him. Glad to have him in chat. He also heard me tilting quite a bit at a couple of my practice seeds yesterday.
That's the entire rando practice process.
Oh, absolutely.
Fighting through the bad ones.
Okay, so just to be on the safe side here, we're going to go ahead and take a safety save. Also, if anyone is familiar with watching a lot of vanilla Metroid runs, either Super Metroid or Metroid Fusion, you may have noticed me jumping through this door here. So that's what we call a door fix. The game has to take a little bit of time to align the door before it can transition you to the next room. Rando does have an option to turn that off. However, as I also run vanilla, I do like to get my practice in remembering to actually fix my doors. Just one of those little frame savers. Normally, we don't want to be jumping as much as possible. Samus moves twice as fast on the ground as she does in the air. So, running is going to be our best form of movement. Fortunately, I will have a bit more health this time because I know I don't need to go into the next room. Just going to pick up my morph ball bombs here and actually remember to track them. Also, feel free, anyone, to yell at me if I don't light up an item on my tracker. I am notoriously bad at remembering to track anything.
I think Chad is going to have you covered in that regard.
Oh, absolutely.
All right, do we have a moment for a few quick updates?
Please do.
All right, wonderful. Thank you so much to Kanji and Chie who donate $100. They say, this is such a wonderful cause. Thank you for all your love and support. It's been great watching the Steel City Speedsters this weekend at PGX. Much love, less than 3. That donation goes towards saving the animals. So too does a $5 donation from Verity who says, deer noises, save the animals. So let's check on the status of that bid right now. My goodness, Save the Animals is in the lead with $175. Save the Frames behind again, still at $54.12. So if you want to see those frames get saved, we're going to have to start picking up the pace here, Chad.
Can't believe my partner would bully me into saving the animals like that, but thank you all for your donations all the same. Avoiding the Rio there. And now that I have bombs, I picked those up in the reactor. I have everything I need to check the majority of Sector 2 here. Although I do not have my level 1 security key card, so there are going to be a couple of checks I cannot make. Also, if anyone caught it while I was in the reactor, I did do a warp back to start from a save room to avoid having to run all the way back. That is very much some tech that we like to do in the rando community. And I have always been particularly noted for my love of save scumming. I'm actually going to go the vanilla route into Sector 2 because the items I have lend themselves well to it. Of course, everything here hits like a truck, so I may come to regret that shortly. Normally I'm expected to have missiles here which will two-shot these Zoros, the little caterpillar-like enemies that do 45 damage to me. Instead, I have to shoot quite a few uncharged shots because I don't have weaponry. Jumping to get through the block a little bit faster so that I already had falling speed built up. Metroid Fusion is a game that doesn't have a lot of any real momentum carrying tech to it, so a lot of the trick to the game is just going to be finding ways to subtly save a couple of frames by being prepared in advance for things we're going to need to see. Okay, the Zoro did not scam me there. This is actually a little bit scary at this health here. we've got some enemies here. I have not gotten anything that I need to save, and that is a bad situation, so we're just going to get out of it. I've lost 5 missiles from my total. I can live with that.
Chat is asking whether you have Instant Morph turned on.
I do not have Instant Morph turned on. So Instant Morph just came out in Randomania 10.2, which came out, I think, 2 days ago. That did introduce a feature where you can morph just by hitting the select button. Because I have never gotten to do a run with it, I didn't really want to implement that in a marathon run as my first ever time using it. Oh, and that is a beautiful stack of pancakes. I've got the gravity suit. That's going to make me take a lot less damage here, as well as giving me the ability to run through some water in other areas of the game. And Randomania also allows you to do a palette swap, so that's why my suit looks very strange right now. I don't even know what to call this one. It likes to give a lot of very cursed color combinations, which I'm a fan of. I cannot get that yet, but that is information. That's the first of 5 babies I'm going to have to pick up, and it is in a gross spot. So I'm going to need an ice source for that, or if I get screw attack, I can do a series of frame-perfect crumble jumps to try to wall jump over to that. That will not be logically possible, but getting information is always useful. So anyway, this check is called Oasis here. It's just a little oasis in the middle of our tropical sector. And we affectionately refer to the check behind it as Wonderwall because I have commentated too many rando races and a lot of rooms got named just whatever random nonsense came out of my mouth at the time.
So anyway, here's Wonderwall.
Exactly.
Chat was also wondering if you can confirm if you have non-Metroids or charge hints off.
Charge hint is on, Metroid hint is on, non-Metroid hints are off. And the only other change I've made, so Randomania made the animals a check. I have in fact turned that check off because we do not want to save those animals, and it wouldn't be a bid war if the game could just force me to.
Can I give you a very spicy update on this bid war?
Absolutely.
Oh my goodness. Okay, all right. Folks, it's heating up. We got some movement to go here. We've got a $25 donation from Dag, who says, "Speedrunners should go fast. Our production team wants to pack up and head home after such an amazing and successful event. The animals will be fine, probably. Thank you to everyone for showing up for Assemble. We'll see you at the next Steel City Speedsters event." That goes towards saving the frames, as does a $100 donation from Stump, who says, "From the tech desk, thanks to everyone who played a part in making this marathon happen. Runners, commentators, volunteers, organizers, viewers, donors, and everyone from our sponsors and from Pittsburgh Gaming Expo. I heard somewhere that this planet has a shortage of frames. It would be good to save a few of those." That goes to Save the Frames, which means that Save the Frames is in the lead by $4.12.
Yo!
It has pulled ahead of Save the Animals. Incredible work.
Also, I just scammed the game because I have Gravity Suit. I was able to run in and jump past the barrier before it could spawn to get in my way. I got rewarded with my Plasma Beam, which allows me to do damage per frame and significantly boosts my firepower here. Also, if you're wondering why I broke my spin there and did a shot in mid-air, I was doing a jump extend, so whenever Samus changes position in mid-air, it stalls her very slightly, and that gave me just enough time to get a little further to the left and be able to grab, or get onto the ledge without having to grab it. We try to avoid grabbing ledges where we can, because grabbing ledges is slow. Also, those little spiky boys, those, for anyone not in the know, are called ouches because they hurt.
Is that canon?
That actually is the canon name, ouch, O-W-T-C-H.
That's the best thing ever, oh my gosh.
They were introduced, I believe, in Super Metroid, where they hang out in Meridia, but they are a little more in the way in Fusion. On Fusion, we have X-Parasites that have taken over and sort of mutated all of the enemies, so that's why we're seeing a lot of classic Metroid enemies, but they look a little, or in some cases, a lot different than we're used to. Also, shout out to picking up Speed Booster. This is a speed run, so we would like to go fast, and Speed Booster will enable me to do so. mashing A there so that I could execute a Shine Spark. You can't do a Shine Spark normally in a 2-tile space right under a ceiling. However, if I'm able to hit the A button while I'm in midair, which I believe is a 7-frame window, it will initiate the Shine Spark and allow me to go just under that ceiling. Also, we are in Sector 4. There is a boss in this sector. Now, I can't fight any bosses right now because I don't have a missile launcher, and unlike in Super Metroid, I'm not able to get missiles from that. Also, I've got to be very careful. My health is not in a good spot. But I completely lost my train of thought because I was fearing for my life there.
Missile launcher, Super Metroid.
Ah, right. So every time I beat a boss, it's going to bring out a Core X, which has one of my power-ups, or in vanilla would have a power-up in it for me. So you need missiles in order to take those out. The boss of this sector is called Ceres. It is a super fast sea snake. I am known for saying Ceres is never worth, although Randomania has made it a little bit better, so I am very happy to get to skip that boss. Although it does have a very good boss theme. I will give it that. So they had to save the bad boss somehow.
Sometimes the music can really make it. Autumn, we have a situation here.
Okay.
We have a $4.13 donation from StalledStorm775 who says, save the animals, which means save the animals is ahead by 1 American cent.
Thank you, Saltstorm. I will forgive that going 1 over our local area code of 412 here, if anyone was wondering why there was that $4.12 number going on. We in Pittsburgh do like our 412s.
I had to look up 413 and it's Western Massachusetts, so I don't even think that's a real place.
You know, fair. So we are going to, because I have the red locks, which is the last key card you get in the game, I can actually go check a few underwater checks with gravity here. Once I go through the barrier to the right, I am pretty much completely locked into the area that I'll be in, so I'm going to check this airlock here briefly in Sector 5. Only check I can do. Of course, it does not pay off for me, but that's one of those where if you don't check it, it will always be something. Also, fortunately, I am going to have a save room on the other side of this. There is a trick in this room to go through the wall I just came through in the other direction. It requires having space jump to get through, but it's called Secret Message. It is the one intended sequence break in vanilla Metroid Fusion, where you go the wrong way to a power-up and you actually get a special cutscene where Adam, the person who gives us our authorization in this is why we save. That room I just died in is called Worst Room in the Game. The official name for it, now that Randomania has given everything names, is Yard Firing Range, but no, that is Worst Room in the Game. Without Charge Beam or any missile upgrades, I cannot actually hurt those enemies, and I was really hoping for an energy tank here. Of course, I didn't even get to see what the item was, so I have to try to go through there again. If I don't want what is in here, I'm probably going to be resetting out of this rather than get through this room. Now, this enemy up here will give me a red X, which heals, I think, 500 HP. The problem is it has 1,000,000 hit points that I have to get through in order to get that.
Isn't Red X that guy from Final Fantasy VII?
True. Although the real ones know that Final Fantasy VI is actually the best Final Fantasy.
I've heard that from some very wise, talented, capable, extremely fast people.
Okay, there, we've got some health here, and there is nothing of value in this room. But you know what? I got the health, so I'm actually keeping it here. These crabs are just the absolute worst enemy. We hate them. Nobody wants those crabs. Metroid Fusion has given us a number of varieties of crab to deal with.
It's the ideal situation.
Now, I know this check that I'm going to try to do here is not logically required. But with high jump, I'm trying to remember if I can reasonably get... Oh yeah, I can reasonably get that. So I'm going to basically hold A so that I can try to get a bomb to land perfectly to break a block above me. And I have to get it close enough. There we go. If I didn't have high jump, that would require a jump bomb jump. So unlike in other Metroid games, Samus cannot gain height from a Morph Ball bomb unless her vertical speed is 0. So there it is, frame perfect to get that. I have now, out of logic, gotten my level 2 security keycard. That opens up a lot, especially in Sector 3. So that gives me a lot of checks I didn't have. Now, I do have to remember that anything I get with that is not yet in logic. Technically, I should have to have... Oh, right, I forgot what kind of block I needed. Good speedrunner of the game, Autumn. Okay, I cannot get to the room off to the right there. It's called Crab Battle because you have to fight some crabs in order to open a locked door. I don't have the ability to get through that right now, but I do have my Charge Beam, which is going to make a lot of enemies that have been a problem be much less of a problem. Now, I'm wishing I were down here with the Power Bomb upgrade. I've got a couple of checks that I'm having to orphan here, unfortunately. Also, like in some other Metroid games, if I do a spin jump while holding a charge shot, I can do what's called a pseudo screw attack. That will allow me to damage enemies. It won't do as much damage as a screw attack would. And we're being careful because everything down here can and will kill me with no hesitation. Oh, good red X drop. Randomizer did drop or increase the odds to 1 in 64. In vanilla, that would be a 1 in 1024 drop. And that gives me enough health to get to a save room. I can't actually make the other checks that are down here because I don't have a way to freeze an enemy to get it out of my way, but I do have a way to get to a save room that will allow me to keep my level 2 security card and my charge beam. So we will not see me taking advantage of that key card. I don't have missiles yet, so I don't necessarily want to go to the early game area where I would be able to fight the first boss of the game, Arachnus, which I am very overpowered for. There's often a lot of value there, but without missiles, most of those checks are walled off to me. But I do want to go up to the operations deck where I got my high jump whenever I'm able to, so that I can find out what bosses I'm going to need to take out here. Also, we're going to take a save going into Sector 3. We might be saving and quitting out of a few things here. As a fun fact, I once did a run of this for a marathon called No Reset, and chat was absolutely letting me have it the whole time because I was resetting constantly.
I think a reset is just a state of mind, you know?
Exactly.
I really, really just want to say I respect anything that incorporates a room called Crab Battle. That just makes me very happy.
Thank you. I will take credit for that name. And I was absolutely referencing the meme.
As well you should. You've done the people's work here today.
We also have a crab rave that we might get to see here today. Energy tank, we will take that. My health has been in some very unpleasant spaces in this run, and I will be happy to not have to worry as much about that. I know the item across the monkey bars here does not have anything for me. However, there is a check behind it that I think I would like to check. And I forgot that I had not broken the blocks before. You know what? I have Gravity Suit. That'll let me move unimpeded here. Gravity doesn't let me avoid environmental damage, but that's okay. I have enough health that I can just tank this room. Normally, lava does count as water legally for the purposes of Metroid Fusion. And so Samus cannot move fast in it until getting the Gravity Suit. And I'm getting all of my turnaround frames every time I try to do a Shine Spark. Gotta love the marathon nerves, and showing that I am absolutely making the call here by going for this check. as I'm getting rewarded with my level 3 security keycard. That means every door in the game that isn't just locked with a condition to open it is now open to me. The main things I'm still looking for as far as getting traversal would be the screw attack and power bombs, which open the most number of checks in the game. I'm actually glad to not be seeing those early, as they just make it hard to decide where to go. Sector 3 has a pretty large loop here that I can go through that is time consuming. I don't have power bombs to check half of the items in it, so we're going to take a save here. Hopefully that's just a little bit of time waste and I will actually find something in this sector, but if not, that will get me out of here a little bit more quickly. I would also really love to have an ice source. There are a few checks here that I can't really find information on without having any sort of way to freeze enemies, as there is one where you have to freeze some enemies to make them into a platform. Alright, ice is also more or less required for that unless I'm doing a jump bomb jump. And this is Red Tower. It's actually close to red in this. All of the pallets are swapped for rooms. Forgot my door fix there. We're going into a room for Bob. There's normally a missile tank here in vanilla here that we call Bob. He's the reason why Metroid Fusion for a long time was thought to only be able to be completed with 1% as the minimum completion percentage. On the North American version, there is in fact a clip you can do to skip out of bounds to skip Bob, which gave us the introduction of 0%, a category which also came back in Metroid Dread. I'm going to go make a check here that I can't actually get because I need super missiles or power bombs to get through a barrier in this room. However, now I know I don't need it. And chat, if anybody has the Cat Jam emote, the boss I'm about to come up against, Vox, has the best song in the game. And I'm going to need you to spam Cat Jam in chat if you have it. Also, while I'm fighting this boss, excellent time to get some donations in. This is going to be a little bit of a longer fight with what I have.
Thank you. I'm so excited to see everyone's jam emotes. It's a good time. It's a good time for a dino dance if you're out there too. And we just want to say thank you so much to everyone who has donated so far to benefit Assemble Pittsburgh, which is located in Pittsburgh's Garfield neighborhood. We are raising money this weekend and we're almost through the marathon. And that is to benefit the kids that are going to their after school care program. You can help us offset some more of those costs for those kids so that they can go get some quality after-school care, participating in things like science and technology activities, art, all sorts of things. Assemble is an incredible organization, and we are so excited that we've already raised almost $1,700 for them. If you can make a donation, you can use !donation in chat to make that thing happen. And thank you again, everyone, so much for your generosity over this weekend.
Okay, I'm finally locking in and getting my positioning for hitting this with a plasma shot. Not the easiest thing in the world to do. Of course, as soon as I say that, I miss all of my shots afterward. I should know better than to say words. Okay, Box, you're being mean. But really, I just want to give chat more time to jam out here. This is the one boss in the game that I can fight without having missiles because it does not have a core X in this fight. We may see a refight where this guy gets a little bit upgraded that we call Xbox later in the run, depending on where the seed takes it.
Folks, I want to see more of those crab emotes. Crab emotes, jam emotes, crab jam if you got them. See some of that?
Oh yeah, Fusion has no shortage of crabs. Please get any crab emotes you have in here. Normally I would have a wider beam with a larger hurt box in order to take this enemy out. Also, we hate killing it that far to the left. So we have to wait for Box to walk all the way over to this point where it will jump off the screen, which I like to refer to as putting itself back in storage. And that unlocks our data room where we can download an update. There are 4 data rooms in the game because Samus would in fact download weaponry. She just downloaded 5 missiles right there. Of course, I was hoping for something better in vanilla that would give me super missiles. There's another missile check here. Oh right, I have Ice Beam now, which is a double-edged sword because it means I can freeze enemies, but also I have to then do one more hit to get them out of my way. Plasma will make that sometimes not as much of a problem. Also, we'll see that sometimes when you kill the enemy, if you don't collect their X-Parasite, they will respawn or sometimes turn into different enemies. Ice Beam overall still worth it as an upgrade. It makes my pseudo screw attack do more damage, as well as giving me the ability to freeze things. I don't know why I'm refilling my health here. I'm just so used to being low on health in this run that I panicked a little bit.
I think that's very reasonable. For everyone keeping track at home, Save the Animals is ahead by 1 cent, a penny, just a little tiny penny. So if you want to make a donation to Save the Frames, it's not going to take much. Now's the time. We're running out before the end of this randomizer when we have to make that call. So if you want to save those frames, make your donations now and apply it towards that incentive.
Come on, chat. I want to save the frames. I want to go fast. We've seen me going not maybe the fastest that I've ever been. And I would like to save that time on the animals, as that will cost me a good 45 seconds to a minute in the run. This room is officially called Garuba's Gully. However, the community has started calling it Double Yellows. Here we're going to turn off the plasma beam so that I can freeze these enemies without killing them. We're going to go into the training area. I froze this one a little bit too low. Actually, with high jump, I can get that. If I had plasma on, I would just kill those pancakes and not be able to climb up them. So back in the very early days of Rando, with our first randomizer, a number of people in the community claimed names. Claimed rooms. This room was claimed as mine. This randomizer likes putting things here a lot more often, including my wave beam. That's going to speed up some areas of the game, as well as opening up some checks, as now I can shoot through walls. That's going to be about all that I'm willing to do in Sector 5. As with my current loadout, I run into the problem of Sector 5 is a cold level, and it will do a high amount of damage to me. I'm just trying to think through what I want to do. I can technically get into Sector 6. That could be required, but I don't have the items to check most of the checks. Now that I have Charge Beam, I can get into Sector 1. That has a lot of pretty quick checks, so that's probably one I want to do. I could also be looking at going to the main deck in order to go back where we were at the start of the run, so I can find out where my Metroids are and see if the missiles are being hidden by the boss that I would need them in order to defeat. And that's a lot of what it takes to play Metroid Fusion Randomizer. It's just always thinking every time you open something up, what can I do with this? Also, because I have Wave and Plasma, I can actually shoot that stabilizer that is required to get out of the room through the wall, so we do that because it's fun.
We've got some real emotions going on here in chat, but we also have a $1 donation from Mally who says Save the Frames, which means Save the Frames has pulled ahead again. Chat, I see you saying Save the Animals, but you could donate to actually save the animals. It's your call. We're going where the donations take us.
And so here I'm getting Wide Beam. This is our equivalent of Super Metroid's Phaser Beam. Huge update to my ability to do damage here. Normally there is not an item in this room. This is one that Randomizer added because this is an event that you have to do in a vanilla Fusion speedrun, or even just a vanilla playthrough, as you have to clear all 5 stabilizers in Sector 1. There was never a reason to do that room, so we appreciate the Randomizer community and developers for giving us a reason to do a couple of things that we otherwise just wouldn't have any reason to ever do. This room is affectionately called Baby's First Wall Jumps because that is pretty much intended to be a wall jump tutorial. Notably, in Metroid Fusion, you cannot do single wall jumps, as the jumping arc pulls you too far away from the wall. Okay, got in just below that ceiling. I like to jump to launch myself into this room. That way, if the first item is not something I want, I don't have to pick it up. Also, this is incredibly purple lava. This reminds me of when there was purple ketchup as a thing for a while.
Oh dear. Oh no. Core memory unlocked.
Yep. Except now it's purple lava. It hurts even worse.
It hurts worse than the purple ketchup.
I was never allowed to have that, and everyone has since told me that I lucked out for that. But I wanted it. It was purple. Purple is a good color.
It's hard to resist, honestly.
Awesome. That shot did go far enough. Sometimes I try to shoot that enemy from a little too far off screen, and it ends up not shooting. Also, if I start charging my beam before I go into a door transition, it will always be charged on my way through, so you'll see me try to start charging my beam ahead of time many times here in order to save just a little bit of time. Now I'm coming up on what would be the first boss of the game. If we did not have the ability to save warp out, I wouldn't be able to safely come here, as I would be soft locked at this point. There is a save room back here for the boss, because I cannot defeat the boss without missiles. But what we're going to do is check an item above the boss. So I just took out our first eye door of the run. Those, every time you get to them, have a 7 in 16 chance of opening up to let you damage them. Depending on what kind of weaponry you have, they take between 1 and 3 shots in order to open. And every time they do not open for you, it's a 3-second time loss. I don't think I actually took the save there. That is tragic. We're gonna double check if I took the save. I don't think I did. Oh, I did. Cool, good job, Autumn, remembering to do the things you were telling yourself in practice when you messed up some stuff. So we're going to warp out of there. I will save Crab Rave for later. I'm thinking of going to the Arachnus area. Right now, I'm running out of checks that I really have the ability to do.
Well, while we're getting to our next area, I'd like to... do I have a moment for an update?
Absolutely.
Thank you so much. We got a $25 donation from the letter M that goes towards saving the animals. And it does sound indeed like right now, saving the animals is ahead. So thank you very much for that donation. And that brings our total to over $1,700 raised to benefit Assemble Pittsburgh. That is incredible, folks. Thank you so much for your generosity. We are still raising money through the end of this run, but thank you, everyone who's donated.
And we went into the freezer there to check what item was being guarded by a frozen Ridley. It will collapse into dust if I actually stay in the room long enough. I think that chicken in the room has in fact gone bad. So we saved here because I'm going to be doing things in a few different directions from that save room. And that gives me a home base that I can go back to as I make these checks in disparate areas. Another case where there are plenty of checks in these areas that I would like to be able to do, and this room here is actually where the animals will be saved at the top of the room if I am required to save them. I would prefer not to. You know what, Autumn, get the information first. That is the play to do. I was going to go check an item that is in a room adjacent to a boss that I can't fight yet. I think I would like to find out if that boss is required before I go make that check, because if that boss is required, I'd like to wait until I can fight it. And that is our spider boss, which is not not Arachnus, it's called Yakuza. And you have to have space jump in order to get out of its room. Right, I already checked the data room. I'm trying to get a hint here. Okay, Arachnus, Neo, Ridley, and Widecore, also known as Gary. So the dream in Rando is always to get a seed that requires Ridley, and chat, we got it. actually, because I can't check the items I would like to check without missiles, we're going to reset to the save room. I did waste about 10 seconds there, not realizing that was my course of action, but that is okay. That's how Rando goes. And this is definitely the point in the seed where I have some things open to me, but I've made most of the checks that are available, and I just really want to know, what does Rando want from me? I'm sure we'll find out eventually.
I can tell you what the people want from you, and right now that is currently at this very second to save the frames, which is ahead by 99 cents. Thanks to a $25 donation from Mad Mega, who says, save the frames.
And I just got the charge hint that I don't need because I already have charge beam. I was trying to go one room further here and turn on auxiliary power. That's not going to be useful to me, so let's see, what other checks can I even make here? I think the seed is telling me to go into Sector 6. I haven't really done anything in Sector 6. I do have some checks that I can do in there. We're actually going to see a strat that you don't get to see too often. It is a backup strat in vanilla speedruns, and you're going to see me save in advance for this, so I don't have to keep running back here if I miss it. But I'm going to be building up a Shine Spark to run through a barrier that normally takes either super missiles or power bombs to destroy. But I have just enough space to build up a speed charge so that I'm able to just Shine Spark right through this. And that gives me access to Sector 6, which will have a few checks. And here are my missiles. These have been available to me for so long. And that's what you hate to see when you are 45 minutes deep into a randomizer and you're like, oh no, my major progression item has been staring at me, just waiting for me to pick it up for the entire time.
In this stream, we're subtweeting Link to the Past randomizer. Oh my god, that's like such rando luck.
Oh, absolutely. And is it really a rando run if you don't just decide not to check the thing that you really need for a long time?
I feel like you could logic your way into any of those decisions.
Absolutely.
Unfortunately.
The good thing is I know 3 bosses I need to take out. 2 of them I can get to now, so we're going to go back up to the main deck one more time. And this time we're actually going to see the first boss of the game, Arachnus. Because I have Plasma Beam, don't blink or you will miss the fight. And you can't see it, but I am doing the heaviest air quotes that I can possibly muster for fight there. Also a fun... No, we're not going to go in the back way because I need to make the other checks and I don't have screw attack to get out. We almost saw me make a classic rando blunder. Space Jump will be required to take out Ridley whenever I go for a required Metroid at that point. So I'm not going to try to get the one Metroid that we have seen on stream already, because Space Jump will make that, it'll give me a backup for if I'm not able to get the freeze that I want. Okay, nothing there, but we are going to get our first Metroid of the run here. Let's go. 48 minutes in by the time I get that. Like I said, don't blink. I don't know if I hit with 1 or 2 missiles there. So on the core X's, every time you hit them, they become invulnerable for 3 seconds. We like to try to lure them into a missile so that they, or 2 missiles so that they hit at the same time. That allows you to hit with 2 at one time. In Rando, I am very good at getting some very scuffed setups to do doubles on these. However, having different loadouts than you would in vanilla can really trip up the speedrunner brain that's used to certain movement through the rooms, and that one I'm honestly just going to blame on, nope, I just didn't do it good. So now we're going to save so that we can do yet another warp back to our starting location.
We've got an update on the save versus kill.
Ooh, where are we at?
Oh, we've got a $1 donation from Stalled Storm 775 who says, Save the animals, and you know what that means, folks. It means that Save the Animals is ahead by 1 cent.
Really appreciate you, Stealthstorm. Of course, Stealthstorm, one of our rando commentators, as well as an appreciated part of the community. Appreciate having you chip in, even if you are not chipping in the way that I would like. But honestly, I care more about charity than I do about the frames, so if I have to sacrifice some frames in order to raise money for Assemble Pittsburgh, there are worse reasons to lose time.
I mean, we can still raise money for Assemble Pittsburgh, but people can donate to saving the frames. Like, that's also very much an option. And if you want to see that, which is what I want to see, now is the time.
So now we are going backwards into the boss that I had to save warp out of. This is Crab Rave here. There's 1-0 in the pool. It was in the Crab Rave. The crabs are not eating well today, it appears. So this is our first beam core that we're seeing here. These, I have to wait for the eye of the beam to open up so that I can defeat it, and that is nothing of value for me. So we're going to go ahead and warp out. While I think of my next course of action here, I am going to go pick up the Metroid that I know is just sitting in Sector 2. As well as check the lower item in the room that I didn't have a way to check before. And I believe I also was not able to check a couple of checks here. So we're going to store a Shine Spark so I can run through these bomb blocks here, get through to the other side of the room a little quicker. There's still a few things in 2 that I'm not able to do yet. But at this point, I can't be picky about only going places where I can do all of the checks. Of course, that's what we like to prioritize as rando runners, is being able to fully clear an area the first time you're in it, because going back is always slower. But sometimes you just can't have what you want. However, if you get your donations in, we can have what we want, which is saving the frames.
It's true.
Chat, help me out here.
You gotta go fast. Oh, Alara just donated $1 and said, "Excuse you? Who said we are saving those animals? Those poor frames never get saved. We definitely need to spare the frames. Let the animals stay cozy in their room and nap."
Exactly. Okay, that was not ideal for the freeze on the left ripper. So what I'm trying to do is freeze these 2 so that I make myself a little bit of a bridge that I can then roll across to get to this Metroid. And that is our second of 5 required Metroids in order to lure out the final boss of the game. I appreciate that Randomizer actually gave us a little bit of a story element for why we're doing Randomizer. When I first heard they were adding keys into the game, I wasn't super enthused about it, but they made it make sense, and that's an unforced error on my part. We are not messing with freezing any of those other rippers in my path, because I'm just going to cause myself more problems if I do. Autumn, that's not the door that you need to go in. You can't do anything in that room. So we are going to go up against our first boss that we know doesn't have a Metroid while we're fighting it. Well, I guess we also did that with Charge Core here, but we're going to go up against Zazabi. This boss, and I'm sure chat is going to give me heck for not attempting a trick called Ouch Missile there. This boss has a weird quirk where it takes exactly 10 hits to take it out. It does not matter what you hit it with. This is the second boss of the game where you get the high jump in vanilla. And it's one of our favorite RNG fests because it jumps up and will do a random number of jumps, which increases with each phase that you're on. I have to do my hits to it in increments of 2, 2, 2, and then 4 for the final phase. So we're in our second phase. You'll see me shooting a charge shot and also a missile. I can technically hit it with 2 parts of the charge shot. However, we do the missile as insurance. 5 jumps, maximum for that phase. Love to see it. Love to see it. Now, if it comes down on me, I will get eaten. I will have to bomb my way out of that boss. I don't think that was a double there. That was definitely not a double. No doubles. Washed out of habit. And I didn't get the sweet spot, so we have to wait for the core there to get to a point where I'm actually able to pick up the item. It has to move to a certain point in the room. We try to get what's called a sweet spot where it will instantly be pick-upable, and I just whiffed it. There we go, we got Ouch Missile. It is frame perfect where you can shoot a missile between the base of the Ouch and the platform. It will shoot across the room and open a door. It saves absolutely no time. However, it does give us swag, and isn't that the important part?
Absolutely critical.
And now I'm playing a fun game of what can I actually get that I haven't checked yet. I have a couple of checks in Sector 4 that because I didn't have ice, I was not able to check. Sector 4 also, fun to note, the only sector that you go left to enter instead of right. We have a fan theory in the community that Sector 4, which is the aquatic sector, is actually in the inside of the 3D space station, and then all of the other sectors are kind of in an orbit around it. It would make sense gravitationally. There are in-game graphics that dispute this, but we don't care about silly things like in-game graphics, do we? Nothing in the data room. Because I have Ice and Wave, I have a lot of ways to freeze some enemies that would otherwise be barriers here in my way. We're going to go left because I need to be able to build a speed charge. If I run into that sonic boom there, I'm going to have problems. Let's see if I can get the spacing right for my Shine Spark here. I can. So, oh, and it's actually something. So, getting that trick was purely for swag there, but I've got the space jump. That is an item that I desperately need in order to get through a few things. And we went over our power bombs. Oh, I have so much more of the station available. This was, in fact, the call. Now, I would like to have Barrier Suit as a safety item here. That's probably what I'm looking for next. Or getting any missile upgrades so that I can take out bosses more quickly. However, getting this is good. Oh yeah, Various Suit would also be required in order to force me to go fight the scientist Gary, who is one of our required checks. So having power bombs, that is making Sector 6 more appealing. I can't really get into Sector 5 without Various Suit. I do have a couple of checks on main deck that this will get for me. And this is the fun where you're getting like an hour into the game and you'd like to be finishing up the rando and you're like, I don't even know my path to completing this randomizer just yet. But I have a lot of options.
All will become clear in time.
That is in fact the hope.
Clearing up is the battle between saving the animals and saving the frames. We have a $1 donation from Stalled Storm 775 who says Samus's ship is far warmer and comfier than a cold room on a spaceship. And $5 from Eurowood who says let them be free, save. And that brings us up to $5.01 ahead on Save the Animals. Right now that's in the lead, so if you want to save those frames, you can make a donation in amount greater than 501 to make that happen.
So normally I am able to pick up the X-Parasites that are floating through the station as... cool, I did save that and that. I'm able to pick those up. Those are my health and missile refills. The ones in Sector 6 are yellow. Normally they would be blue. Those are frozen X-Parasites. Samus has been given Metroid DNA in this game in order to fight off an X-Parasite infection so that she doesn't become like the enemies. The downside to this is she's vulnerable to cold, so anything cold until I get Various Suit is going to hurt. Those Ice X do 69 damage each time I get hit by one. That is a lot, and the knockback kept knocking me back into all of the other ones, and you saw it was quite a chain reaction there. I can find out where my last Metroid is if I go through a series of rooms to the left, there are a lot of Ice X that will be in my way that make that a very unappealing option. We would love to find a Varia suit here so that these become less of a problem. However, I'm on my way to where in the base game I would be getting that Varia suit, so I am expected to be able to do this. And here are some of the changes that the randomizer does. So we had to break, the Fusion is a very scripted game with a series of events, and we basically had to turn them off there. Normally the first time through that room, you find the SAX and have to hide under the floor so it doesn't see you in order to let it blow up a wall so you can get past to go fight a boss for your Varia suit. Taking a little damage there, that's not going to be a problem. I'm going to be taking out an eye door here that will give me a Red X to heal me to full. And here we see a Core X downloading our upgrade for us. This is the Mega Core X. A fun fact about this enemy is that it is only vulnerable to Charge Beam. The Charge Beam has a flare that does a little bit of a melee damage to it. So my goal with this fight is to try to clip into it so that I can hit with the charge as well as all particles of my beam. Having space jump really throws me off for this particular core. You'll also see some of these cores take a lot of hits because I only have my base missiles. The game does expect me to have super missiles on this. I am hitting a lot of doubles here, but it's just not mattering with how many hits I need to give it. I don't have to worry about running out of missiles. I have more than enough, and also I can shoot the core in order to get some missile ammo back. We will take that energy tank just for safety. Always good to be safe in a marathon run. I will not be getting that energy tank because I'm going to be save warping out of this sector. There are a lot of Ice X in that vertical climb there. That's supposed to show you in the vanilla game, oh, you're safe from these now. And I am not safe from them. I've got a couple of checks in Sector 2 that I can make now that I have power bombs. That is appealing. I do have a boss I can fight there. Normally I try not to fight optional bosses because they are some of the most time-consuming checks. However, when you're getting down to it and you need items in order to be able to finish things off, that suddenly becomes much more appealing. Morphing on the way into the room just to set a power bomb there to speed me up a little bit getting into here. We'll see if we actually end up keeping that energy tank or if I'm just going to save warp out of it here. I'm going to save warp out of it, which I have to wait for the power bomb animation to finish in order to get into the menu to be able to do that. Sector 4 has one more check that I can make that I should have checked the last time I was in there, but did not think to check it. I'm actually going to do something different than what I would normally do, where I'm actually going to just go directly to this check. Normally I would try to shoot it with wave beam through a floor in order to see if it's going to be something that I need to go out of my way for, but because I'm not progressing any further into the sector this time, we're just going to go ahead and send it. Let's see, where did I actually save? Oh, right, I saved at the bottom of Sector 6. Oh, well, that is roughly time neutral versus waiting for the power bomb animation to go through. Okay, Fusion, what do you want me to do today? Do you want me to go into Sector 3 and make a couple of checks I wasn't able to make there? Sector 2. Sector 2 is the one that I want to go to. Going the opposite direction of that is not helpful for me. Well, I'm going through a sector that we've run through several times. Threach, if you have anything in chat or any donations, updates on the bid war, I would love to hear any of it.
Chat is cutthroat.
As they should
Oh
be.
my goodness! No, there's a ton of support out here for you and for Fusion Randomizer, which is very, very cool. A ton of support also for people with opinions on whether to save the frames or save the animals. And as a reminder, Save the Animals is currently ahead by $5.01. So if you'd like to turn the tide, you can make a donation. Exclamation mark donate in chat to get that info, and all of the money that we raise this weekend goes to benefit Assemble Pittsburgh. It is a community space in Pittsburgh's Garfield neighborhood. They focus on arts and technology, and it's very cool because they have a lot of programs there that are associated with things like science, technology, your typical STEM, but also art as well. And they're supposed to be, they're designed to be fun and engaging, and they offer everything from after-school programs and camps to workshops and adult craft nights. However, I did notice that we just picked up something very interesting.
We did. We got our Varia suit. I think that the shout out to Assemble Pittsburgh was just what we needed to will this into the universe for me. So now this gives me the ability to, the first thing I'm going to do is going to go into Sector 3. I know I need to go fight Gary, which is one of the longer checks in the game. I have to run all the way through here. Normally we would be in an emergency state when we're going into this sector for this particular boss fight, as the station is melting down and going to overheat if you don't save it within 6 minutes. Normally we can do it in about 1.5 minutes, so that part's not scary. However, because of that, there are no save rooms on the way down to Gary. What am I doing here? I have to break the floor with a speed boost. That power bomb did nothing for me. We're going to try to time a jump bomb jump. We got it, so I waited for my bounce to finish and then jumped and held A. And that has been timed out to always make me hit the bomb in that room so that I can get the bomb jump and get in just a smidgen faster otherwise than I would be able to. Because while a power bomb is going off, Samus cannot grab onto any ledges because the explosion is just too powerful. It knocks her off. Should I go for a space boost here? We're going for a space boost.
Follow your heart.
So a space boost is where we hold a charge shot, or not necessarily a charge shot, but where we are just speed boosting and using the space jump in order to just fly through areas. It is the fastest way to move in the game in the few areas where you can do it. There aren't really any in the vanilla run that do much aside from one in Sector 5. Shout out to Monkey SMB who was able to show that off at, was that HEDQ this year or was that SGEQ last year? I forget which run that was. But also has happened a lot of times in an any percent tournament that we've had going on in the community recently. They are just one of the also coolest tricks to look at because Samus is just flying and you don't have the startup frames and bonk frames that you would otherwise have when executing a Shine Spark, which is the fastest movement in the game, but because of the factor of startup and cooldown, it doesn't always save time. So we're abusing the AI here to just get this core stuck on this corner. It's expecting me to have super missiles. I don't have the firepower it is expecting. So we're just kind of letting it hang out here and not be able to do anything to me while I'm shooting it as much as I can.
It's being very patient.
And of course, shout out to the GameCube controller D-pad for that slight misstep there because it is very easy to get an unwanted diagonal. I mostly run using the control stick on this controller. Surprise, surprise, we got the Metroid that the game told us would be there. I'm always surprised when I pick it up, even though I know it'll be there. I forget it when I actually jump into the check. And they added a check there for fixing the main boiler. This time it wasn't anything of use to us. Unfortunately, I don't have any save warp strats that I can do here to get out of this, so I'm just going to have to run the whole way out of this sector. Also, Ice Beam. You normally only get that for the final boss of the game. Sometimes if it is going through with plasma and hitting on a lot of frames, it will lag the game a bit. So any audio stuttering from that is just something that comes with the territory of Fusion Rando. And something I personally kind of enjoy. It's like, oh, I'm so strong that I am breaking reality in this game. Having space jump kills my ability to do any wall jumps here, so we're just taking a very casual route through Red Tower here. I'm actually going to loop up around where we fought Box before, because there is one check on the way out of Sector 3 I wasn't able to do, and any check on the station effectively could be where my last Metroid is. Because I have various Hoot, I can now go through the deeper part of Sector 6. I don't really love what I have to deal with a boss in that sector, but we're going to deal with that. Because I really want to get my hint as to where the Metroids are. Also, I'm as well equipped as I'm ever going to be to fight Ridley, and oh, here are my ice missiles. That's going to increase my missile damage, as well as enabling a stun lock on the SAX fight when we get to that point in the run. Very much making a good call here. Now the question I have for myself is, do I want to do the Sector 5 loop now that I have Varia that opens a lot of checks, or do I want to go toward where I know the Metroid is and where I will find out where my other Metroids are? Logically, I can't be expected to go to Ridley yet because that expects me to have Screw Attack to get out. Save warping is never logically expected by the randomizer. However, because I know that I have that option, I can break the logic as a way to go faster. That would be honestly so horrible if the randomizer could expect me to go into a place I can't get out of in order to pick something up, so I'm really glad that they don't logically expect that, and especially as a speedrunner, I want to go fast, so it is in my best interest to be able to do so.
I think that checks out.
These puffers here are the worst enemy in the game. Whenever you take them out, they will drop a few plumes of smoke that will do damage to you and also get in your way, so we hate dealing with those. They've actually been cooperating with me pretty well here. These blocks here are Screw Attack blocks, as was just shown off, so there are a couple of checks that I need Shine Spark tricks in order to get into that I cannot do. Anyway, get your jam emotes in chat again here, as we are fighting now Xbox. And this one will have a Core X fight. In Vanilla, this is one of the last bosses in the game. It's where you get the Wave Beam. I'm really glad that we have the ice missiles, as this is expecting me to have fully powered missiles, and I'm at least halfway there now. Thanks to getting a lot of plasma hits in there, we're able to do that. I have no idea what to do for a double setup with this combination of missiles. Every missile upgrade you get increases the cooldown between shots and also increases the shot velocity of your missiles. So that really changes our double setups. I'm kind of trying to YOLO them. I think I just got one there. Oh, that wasn't nearly as bad as I was expecting. And we got our Screw Attack here, French Vanilla, so this was actually the logical path that we want to go to. And will give me the ability to do a few other checks. Unfortunately, we will not be seeing Xbox anymore in the run, and I could go back and do the couple of checks that I passed on. They're fairly tedious checks, so we're going to skip them. We're going to find out where our remaining Metroids are here very soon, as I have to go through space in order to get into a restricted area. Normally down here, this is where you would find out that the Federation are actually cloning Metroids on their own station and That will cause us problems. I'm going to save here just in case so I don't forget to, because I have done that before and it ends in a bad time. Just to make sure I don't lose my screw attack and have to repeat that boss fight. Here's an item just in space. Always hype whenever progression is there. It is almost never there. Okay, so we have a Metroid in Ripper Tower, and we have one in Security Shaft East. Security Shaft East, I am trying to remind myself what check that is. However, this means that I don't have much that I really need to do in the way of checks. I know where my remaining 2 Metroids are, so going to be coming up fairly close to estimate here, but we are definitely going to come in under estimate as I don't have to run across the whole station trying to figure out how to get out of here. This is we like to call this the Turian area of the station, as it very much is an allusion to that portion of Metroid games. And as I'm running on the final approach to Ridley here, do we have any other donations or anything else going on in chat?
Do we ever? We have a $7.70 donation from Foxy who says, "This one's for you, Dag," and that goes towards saving the frames. Saving the frames, I'm going to give a quick refresh right here, is ahead by just over $2 compared to Save the Animals. So folks, we're running out of time. We should be coming up on our cutoff for that in not too much time. Autumn's going to give me a heads up whenever that happens, and then we are going to close those donations. But get in your donations if you want to save the frames or the animals.
Yeah, if I had to guess, we probably have about 5 minutes left on that, maybe even a little less, depending on how Ridley goes for me. And we took a save going in here because I have occasionally had times where the Ridley fight goes absolutely off the rails. We as a community have come up with a lot of really cool strats for Ridley. I am not good at any of them. I'm also, the charge beam takes 64 frames to charge. I am the absolute queen of charging it for about 62 frames and letting it out uselessly. We want to use Plasma Beam on Ridley because Ridley is huge and Plasma Beam does damage per frame. So the longer I can keep the shot in Ridley, the more damage I will do. That's why you see me mostly trying to do diagonal shots here. And this is where we would normally get our screw attack, which is also the last thing you do in the game. So screw attack opens up a lot of items because in the vanilla game, it's not really used for any progression, but it is used for opening up the cleanup phase of the game. And I have never claimed to be good at doubles, especially with this setup. Normally we would use, I think, 5 or 6 missiles because we don't have supers. That is making this take quite a bit longer. But there we go. Surprise, surprise, Ridley was holding on to a Metroid, so we know we just have to get to the Security Shaft East in Sector 5. I am still trying to... Oh, okay, I think I know what check that's going to be. I believe that's going to be at the bottom of Sector 5. I could, with all of the items I have, actually escape here the intended way, but we don't want to go the intended way. We're trying to go fast. So we're going to once again warp back to the start. We are pretty much not going to be saving again until we are making the final approach to the end of the game. Unless anyone wants to drop a dono to yell at me to save the game. That is something that when I used to stream regularly, I would give a channel points incentive to make chat bully me into saving. They partly did that because I am very stubborn about not saving, even when I like to do a lot of save strats.
We do have a comment in here in a $2.70 donation from Stalled Storm 775 who says, "I insist, save the animals." And that brings us to, again, another 1 cent lead on Save the Animals.
This is an unfortunately yellow sector. I don't like it. Also, you said Save the Animals is now winning again?
Save the Animals is indeed winning right now by 1 cent.
Stalled, I really appreciate you. But also, chat, we're going to need to bail me out here. Now, I'm going to hope, because I don't have all of the room names from Randomania memorized yet. Oh, it's the bottom check here. So I had the right room, I just thought I was going to have to climb, so that is going to be go mode. I was lying, I am going to take one more save here so that I can save warp. We're probably looking at about 2 minutes until we have to call the incentive, so get your donations in now, chat. Now. Not later. Of course, all going to a fantastic cause in Assemble Pittsburgh. A benefit to running on Open Sector Hub like I'm doing is that my reset location goes here, because the reset will take you to wherever you have started. And we're just going to double check to make sure I do in fact still have all of my Metroids. I have saved out of them before and run up in what I thought was go mode, only to find out, oh, what Metroid did I not save? This is going to be our last save. You have maybe 20-30 seconds left to get those donations in. When I get to the next elevator, that is where we are going to do our cutoff. Honestly, if you want to extend it a few seconds and get into the SAX fight, we can do that.
You give me the cutoff, I'll let you know.
I am going to need to know, am I saving the animals or am I saving the frames?
All right, one last refresh, and what I'm seeing is that we are saving the animals by 1 cent. Thank you to everyone who donated.
Chat, you are
oh
legends.
My goodness.
Okay, we broke the sunlock here, so it only takes 4 shots if I do that correctly. If you get it off script, it is difficult. We want to freeze the SAX because that keeps it stationary to let my beam go through it for more phases. We're on to phase 2. This is the most cursed Hornode in the game, as I like to call it. This also is not a threat. I'm bad at doubles on this, and I'm fairly low on health. We're going to hope that I've got a good setup here. We're going to scam this core because I need to do, with this number of missiles, I believe I need to hit either 8 or 10 on it. I believe it's 10. It might even be as much as 12. Missing super missiles that the game is expecting me to have makes this take many more shots. Typically, it would only take 6. I don't think any of these are actually going to land as doubles, but YOLO, because I have the missiles to shoot. Basically, I'm trying to align the parts where the missiles are accelerating with where I shoot the second missile a little bit later in order to make them hit at the same time. So we're starting the self-destruct sequence. They did take out the countdown in this portion of the game, although we still have the music for it, because there is a plan to add an entrance randomizer, and that still needs a lot of testing to determine how much time we want to give. But I just learned yesterday that during the escape sequence, I can still save the animals. And that actually let us get a couple more minutes of getting those donations for Assemble Pittsburgh game. That is the closest I've ever gotten to weaving between those platforms on the way down. I've never gotten successfully 4 platforms down, so let's go. Thank you to everyone here for lending me your energy.
That's some marathon luck.
Something had to go right here. Getting through a little bit quicker because I have wave beam, so I can open these shutters from the wrong side. Normally there's a spot where you have to use speed booster to break some blocks. The animals here are one of our least favorite points of RNG in the run. It is complete RNG how long they take to come out of this room. There are 5 of them back there. Sometimes they will run right past the open door. Are they in there? In vanilla runs, it is required to save the animals as it's a mid-game story event, and that sometimes is where the game just says, hey, you want to lose a handful of seconds? Here you go. They're gone.
Just taking their sweet time.
But there you go, chat. We have saved the animals. Thank you for all of the wonderful donations to Assemble Pittsburgh and making me do this. And if anybody is in chat asking for Pogo, we're going to see if I can make that happen as well. I'm not super optimistic because I don't know the setup. If I don't, nope, I didn't get low height, so we're not getting it. It's frame perfect to try to get a Shine Spark off that goes underneath that ceiling and goes all the way to the end of the room. Also, I'm going to turn off my Wave Beam because I can get a better quick kill on this Omega Metroid if I have that off. And, oh no, I better watch out. I'm down to 1 HP. As a fun fact that I've learned, if you come into this cutscene at 1 HP and it hits you, it still only takes you to 1 HP. However, I have been killed in a run where I came in here at low health and took an attack from the Omega as it jumps into the room. And that can actually damage you because it's only the scripted swipe in the cutscene that takes you to 1. And we are completely safe here. We're going to drop a power bomb. We're just celebrating by firing off all of these missiles here. Time is going to be when I face forward, and time. I was a little worried early on in the run, but we managed to pull it together. The credits tell me where the items I can't find were because I would love to know where my firepower was. But with that said, I just want to give a huge shout out to the entire Steel City Speedsters crew for putting this event together. This has been a wonderful marathon. I am supremely honored to have been chosen to close out the marathon here. Very much appreciate getting to raise money for a great charity and just for a great group of local speedrunners that I am very much hoping to be connected with in the future here. Shout out to the Metroid Fusion community, and if anyone is looking for something to do after this, we do have a 2D Metroid relay going on over on Speed Gaming, where you can watch other Metroids being played fast. But with that said, shout out to my partners for donating during the run, and to everyone else who helped us donate, and for Stalled Storm for repeatedly doing the snipes there. Much appreciated. And I looked away and did not see where any of my missile upgrades were, so oh well, I will never know. But hey, we didn't need them, right? With that said, that is all I've got for today.